I decided to represent the accommodation readiness spiral using a staircase model. Each step represents one level, and the front face of each step notes two connected concepts. The right side of the staircase shows specific classroom examples for each level, while the left side gives the definition for demonstrable readiness for that level. To understand how the ARS levels build upon one another, we will now examine each level and discuss what it looks like in practice. Level 1 is readiness for critical reflection on practice. This means that teachers are able to look back on classroom practices, curriculum, and school culture and identify any biases that may exist. To do this, teachers must understand how stereotypes and privilege can lead to discrimination and why it is important for students to develop positive self-identities. To demonstrate readiness for this level, teachers must enhance their reflection skills for years. One easy way to do this is by keeping a daily journal. This helps teachers organize their thoughts and make sense of daily events. Level 2 is readiness for ELL students and families. This basically means that teachers are able to see CLD students and families as great assets for the learning environment. By drawing upon children's funds of knowledge and affirming their diverse backgrounds, teachers avoid marginalizing cultures, thus showing respect for all peoples. One example of this comes from an article by Luis C. Moll and his colleagues. They describe a teacher who uses Mexican-American students' knowledge of candy to create a culturally relevant unit with meaningful activities and family involvement. Level 3 is all about environmental readiness. For a classroom to be accessible for all ELL students, the teacher ought to demonstrate a transformation approach and use knowledge construction to create a challenging and inclusive learning environment. This can be done by incorporating high-quality multicultural literature throughout the year rather than keeping it isolated in one unit. Level 4 is curricular readiness, and it refers to a teacher's ability to examine the overt, hidden, and null curriculum in order to make it more accessible for ELL students. Oftentimes, ELL's needs are considered invisible because many believe they can be addressed by just good teaching. Level 4 teachers, however, know this is not true, and they are willing to work with companies and other educators to change the curriculum for the better. Level 5 teachers demonstrate programming and instructional readiness. That is to say that they go beyond trivialization and truly focus on ethnic studies. Rather than highlighting holidays and foods, these teachers use class time to dive into deep societal issues affecting other cultures and build students' critical thought. One example of this comes from an article by Valerie Pang in which she describes a social studies unit about Asian American civil rights leaders. The final ARS level is readiness for application and advocacy. This basically means that teachers go beyond just doing culturally relevant classroom practices and advocate for a large-scale change. They use an advocacy framework to capitalize on their currency, defensibility, and futurity to make schools a better place for CLD students. In order to advocate successfully, educators must demonstrate an understanding of intersectionality and how students' lives are affected by a multitude of factors. One example is a group of teachers going to their local school board to advocate for programs which make school involvement more accessible to low-income parents and parents with disabilities. So in conclusion, the accommodation readiness spiral is like a staircase because it is divided into multiple levels which build upon one another. Similarly, teachers can move up and down on the staircase as different situations arise. It is my hope that knowing about these levels will help me be a more knowledgeable and intentional educator.